Cool Movie Talk back after a long hiatus. Season 2. Is this a season? I don't know.
I would say so.
We do whatever the fuck we want when we want it. That's why. It's been a while.
We left on a
guys.
we left on a suspenseful hanger. Our cliffhanger is what it felt like, you know?
Shallow
will
how?
They review this? Yeah. And will they review the Snyder Cut? Who can say?
Yeah. For everyone, for all three of you guys who following us, I know you're eager to get our reaction to Snyder Cut, and this is it for today's episode. We're going to talk about the Snyderverse. We're going to talk about DC. We're going to talk about the Justice League. Basically, why we still allow executive producers, editing teams, marketing teams to fuck up great pieces of work by snipping it down to basically a tweet version of a movie. I don't know. That's
Justice League.
That's exactly what I think. Just in a quick synopsis about like what is the biggest difference between the two of those. One, I can like smell the influence from everyone outside of the production, and the other one is like, I'm gonna tell the story the way I want. Fuck you, people want to see it, so you're gonna sit through 6 episodes, 6 hours of this because I can.
I'll name 4 hours, but 6 different parts. But you know what? I'll say this as a little preview. It didn't feel like 4 hours to me.
It did not.
I think it flew by pretty quick.
Bro, it totally didn't. And it lets you know that people have an appetite for this. Why? Because people binge watch mini docuseries in one sitting, like 5-episode ones. That's basically what we sat through, and people will consume it at their leisure. And I love the breaks in the chapters, which means like, okay, now is a good point to stop if you so choose. Right? Like I love that. Give me a mini series without giving me a mini series, right? Like Grindhouse, Tarantino days. Here's an intermission. Go up, use the bathroom, refill your popcorn, and then come back for the second half of this novella.
It's awesome because it's like that's also like what we talked about on the last episode, where we just kind of felt miniseries give a story its full like narrative conclusion, so it pieces everything together a little more smoothly than movies do. Some movies nowadays. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At least the miniseries format worked way better than I expected.
Before we get directly into it, I think most of the episode, we're just going to talk about Snyder Cut. We're going to talk about DC. Probably going to talk about DC Marvel. Before we get in, we're going to shelf all the other stuff, movie quotes. We're not going to make a film today. We're going to save that for a special treat. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. But
I'm down.
What are you watching right now? Are you watching anything?
I have seen so many things since we last did this.
I would hope so.
But I'm gonna open with the funniest one, I think, because we're gonna rattle off a few of these. I watched Disorderlies for you, and we never reviewed it. We never reviewed it.
God, you did. And we watched one of the we watched Disorderlies, slapstick comedy, basically like a fat urban version of the Three Stooges, because one of the Disorderlies passed away. And before we could record that episode, which we will talk about, something else came up that was more pressing. And in the same vein, I was going to ask you to do that again, because there's a movie called Nothing But Trouble. Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, Tupac's in it, and a rapper by the name of Shock G. And they do like the 90s rap soundtrack over this thing. And Shock G, rest in peace, just passed away. So I wanted to review that just as like a glimpse. Yeah, Shock G was in this, homage to him. But that's the story of why we did Disorderlies. We're probably going to do Nothing But Trouble. It's an amazing film. If you have not seen it, you should. It's actually really funny and stands the test of time. But I've ranted enough, Aaron. You watched the Disorderlies. What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
But there's some editing stuff I probably wouldn't have noticed as a kid if I first saw it. Now that I video edit, there's some stuff that I was like, oh my God, like it was very jarring, like some cuts and edits. But again, that's not why I'm going there. I'm not going for a cinematic masterpiece. I just like pointing that out, because like the notes as I read back, I wrote notes as I was watching it, but I've kept them for months for just no reason. Reading them back is amazing. The opens with songs saying the Fat Boys. Not a fat joke though.
Dude, these are guys making fun of themselves in the fact they're basically like, look, man, I know what I look like, and we're just gonna ride this gravy train to the box office, to the Millionaires Club. You could not make that movie today.
I don't think. Oh yeah, no.
With the old guy with the racial humor, like you could not make that.
Yeah.
Abusing the elderly.
If you did, yeah, there's some really weird stuff in there. It feels like ridiculous in a way. Home Alone's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, why don't the burglars just actually be terrible or terrifying? Yeah, just kill a kid. You know, in this sense, it's like, why don't they just call the police on them, figure something out? Not a bad visual intro is what I wrote. They were wheeling old people around the hospital and they were kind of dancing with them.
Yeah,
that was fun.
No,
there was some character to it.
Yeah, I think you gotta stop. When I give you this homework, it's not so that you can grab a pen and paper and critique the editing. Enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Like this is supposed to be a casual conversation, but it appears that you come preparing notes. I did not come that prepared today. I'm just gonna talk about Snyder off the top of my head, but Aaron's been taking notes on this since the day I met him. So we're gonna give him enough runway today to air out all the laundry he needs.
I know if I don't take notes, I'm gonna forget and just ramble. I'm gonna say what made me think that, and I'll go back and check and I'll be like, this is exactly the moment why I thought that.
What else you got on the? I've been watching a lot of fucking documentaries. I just can't get away from how shitty humans are, man. Whether it's like Ministry of Evil on Hulu, or whether it's another brainwashing cult, or I don't know. I have Mortal Kombat on my to watch list. I have Godzilla versus Kong on my to watch list, and then I have Love, Death, and Robots, which is part 2 is on Netflix. If you haven't seen part 1, you should watch it. That's on my watch list. And
wait, isn't it coming out in May?
Love, Death, and Robots?
I think part 2 is coming out in May, right? 15th?
It's coming out soon. It's coming out soon.
If it's on in Netflix right now, I'm sorry. We got to pause. I got to go watch that.
2 things I'm excited to watch. M. Night is back with more creepy kids. I don't remember what it's about. I just saw, M. Night in the trailer. I was like, yep, he's got my money. I'm going to see it just because I'm curious. You could have told me he reads a Yellow Pages. I'm going to see. There's going to be a twist to this at the end. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be fucking great. And
wait, is it what's the name of his movie?
Shit, I can't remember, man. Like I'm gonna give it to the editor. He's gonna place it on screen right now. Bing. I don't know what it is, but it's all of these things are on YouTube. You can check out the trailer. One trailer you should check out is man, we're really getting crazy with these origin stories now. Because Cruella de Vil, from the 101 Dalmatians with I believe Emma Stone playing a young Cruella de Vil. Like, come on, man, did she really need a gritty I mean, it's a comedy, but
it's like I couldn't agree more. It kind of feels not only like classic Disney cash grab, like with Maleficent and Snow White and the Huntsman.
Maleficent was actually good.
I didn't see it. I think I got 30 minutes in and I don't know, something about it, I just wasn't being drawn in. But Snow White and the Huntsman, I know I did not enjoy enough to see again. It wasn't. It was very odd and didn't have enough character. So, I think this at least looks better than that, Cruella, but it still feels like Disney's Harley Quinn single movie. You know what I mean? Like they just pulled something out of their ass for it. It feels very weird. Visually, I bet it'll be great though.
One of the things I have a heart Snyder Cut can take Joaquin's Joker. I have a hard time pulling Harley Quinn into the Snyder Cut or any of the Suicide Squad just because of how aesthetically different it felt like 2 different fucking universes, even though Batman ties them together.
Yeah.
But I'm also man, if for our non-American friends, I fell down the rabbit hole, no pun intended, of Q Conspiracy on HBO Max. You guys should watch that. It's actually really good and really weird, and see a lot of themes, man. Especially how susceptible to suggestion humanity is without any sort of critical thought whatsoever. Following cult leaders to drink cyanide in Jamestown, to Heaven's Gate eunuchs, to digital gods in the deep state known as Q.
To Jared Leto having an island with a ton of, I think, all women a part of his he has a whole sex cult. He's did you not know that Jared Leto has an island of people where just a bunch of I think only women come, and like they're all just partying there, just getting it on. I'm not sure if they're actually getting it on. There's no photos of that, but there's photos of him actually on an island. Like that's why he didn't know about the pandemic until a couple months after. Remember, like he tweeted like, "What's going on?" And it was just kind of.
Sorry,
like,
I couldn't. I couldn't hear you guys. What's going on? I was buried in
a mountain of.
Sorry, I came up for air, and apparently somebody told me. I caught a news report that said something about a pandemic. Don't worry, everybody on my island's been STD checked. We're good over here. How do I get on this island, man? Fuck.
You have to be.
That sounds cool. Partying with Jared Leto. I remember him from Lord of War.
It looks like a cool island.
I've never seen this island. I'm gonna Google this, but Lord of War, where he's basically just a coke fiend, and you know how sometimes you can see real glimpses of the human in the actor, and I was like, this is real Jared Leto right here. This is he's hovered across a mirrored table, and he's got a mound of coke, and he like used the lines to make a map of a scale model map of Ukraine. He's been up for at least 36 hours at this point. Anyway,
he did it.
This is what I envision his island being like. Yeah,
him. I haven't seen that photo yet, but we'll find it. We'll make it.
I went back and I watched over the past few weeks. I watched a bunch of old things that I used to love, from Serafina to Harlem Nights to Casino Royale, and I don't know why it didn't stick to me, but did you realize Richard Branson was in Casino Royale as like an extra in an airport?
Really?
Getting a security checked by like the TSA. It's really random, and he's on screen for less than a second, but it's fucking Richard Branson, right? That's
how long
he probably funded this
him?
And he was like,
"You just got to put me in it."
Yeah, you just got to put me in it somewhere. It's like it's my personal vanity. Where's Waldo?
Boom! Fine, we did it. Yeah,
I would absolutely do it if I was in the stratosphere of the Trillionaires Club.
Who wouldn't?
You couldn't keep me off of other people's movie, right? I'd be in a window as the Joker strolls down the stairs in the Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Is that the only take we got?
Yeah. What else would it be really awkward? What recently? Oh, I'd be like on a plane next to the main actors in Midsummer or something. I'd be in everything. I would absolutely be watermarking every fucking thing. Stamp it mine. Stamp it mine. I'd be the Puff Daddy of filmmaking.
I was about to say this, like. I was about to say like the Stan Lee, but for cameos, but you like transcend just one brand.
With Stan Lee, though, you know they thought it would be cheeky to put him in. He wasn't like, hey, I want to be in this, right? Where I don't know, but I don't see. He made this entire universe. People know who he is. He doesn't need to be in the film.
Yeah, he was clearly doing it like for fun.
He's like, yeah, okay, I'll give this to my fans. Whereas, Richard Branson is like, no, I'm in. He's gonna pull up a lawn chair in the middle of like the street on the chase scene highway, and he's like, I'm not moving until you give me a line.
Oh, hi.
Totally made up and fabricated. This all happened allegedly in my mind. Please don't sue us if you wind up down a movie podcast hole one night on YouTube and stumble across us on a.
And if you're looking for people to sue that way, you're insane. I think. Yeah. And you can't sue us.
They're gonna sue Thomas. That's who they sue. We're nested under Thomas. Thomas will take it. Thomas, I'm sure he's insured.
We're just gone the second he gets the
as soon as he's been served.
So you brought up HBO Max, so
yes.
I'll bring up one more thing. I did see Godzilla vs. Kong.
What'd you think?
It's pretty insane. I think you have to enjoy the movie without thinking, though. Like it's like it almost feels slightly above like it feels like a Fast and Furious, but for Godzilla and King Kong in a way.
You know what?
Not campy, but it lacks a lot of thought, and it's not really like, but there's enough emotional through lines where you're like, okay, I'm invested in this fight and I care enough, but all the humans still suck.
You say that. One of the reviews, right? Everyone on Twitter has a shitty opinion about something shitty. And I saw someone who I reasonably thought was like a logical thinking human was like, God, Godzilla versus Kong sucked. There was like so many plot holes, and there was the narrative was like I couldn't get invested in the characters, and I was like, what were you hoping to get out of this? Like, what did you go into? This isn't The Notebook, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a Fast and Furious. Like, oh my God, like let's not tear to shreds Transformers with reptiles here. Come on. This is I'm mad at you for that review.
Okay. I said, but here's what I said. You have to enjoy it by not thinking. You can't think while you watch this movie. That's the only way you're gonna have fun, because there's so many questions. There's so many, like Bobby Brown is in this movie, 11 from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yep. And her whole story is frustratingly boring and pointless. The only character you're invested in, and the humans that help, is King Kong. And the humans that help him, I don't like that. He has like one human child he likes, and they have sign language talk, and that's great. I just like that. I like that King Kong learned how to sign language. They did some smart stuff, some really weird, ballsy, crazy stuff, but like I said, you got to enjoy it not thinking. That's what this movie is. No brain thought. You got to drink every time you see King Kong. I don't know. That's the way.
I go into King Kong movies like that with no expectation. That is the only way you can walk out of there alive. And I assume that everybody on screen is gonna I go into a movie like that expecting to see a guy drive a Corvette off a bridge, hop out in midair, and use a grappling hook to latch onto the side of a building to pull himself up to catch the baby mid drop and land on 2 feet with like no inertia impact brace. That's what I expect out of movies like that. And if you go into it makes me sad if you go into there expecting anything less than that. But it's like movies like that though are like the pinnacle of CGI, right? I feel like movies like that are released so that the studios can one up each other on like XD, HDR, right? Like 10K, right? This was shot in IMAX VR, fucking like that's why they do that.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because there's a lot of scenes in that movie that are ridiculous and make you ask a lot of questions, but are just visually stunning. Like they look great. Like there's one scene I can only compare to 2001: A Space Odyssey, where he's going through like the time, and like he's going through the wormhole or whatever, and the lights are rushing by, and he's just like, and you get a close up of his eyes. There's a scene like that in King Kong for no reason. Like you really don't need that scene. Oh my God! And it confuses me, the fact that they need it. Like if you see, I don't know, do you care about spoilers for that scene? Because it's not an important thing.
Wait, I have to see King Kong as it was meant to be consumed from beginning to end, no interruptions, in an isolated boot. No, I don't give a shit about spoilers of King Kong. Actually, who wins? Okay. How does it end? Let's just cut to the chase. How does it end? I don't give a fuck.
That's the biggest problem. I want you to guess how this movie goes. Just give me like even within a sentence if you want, or a paragraph. But like,
so I know how I want it to. I know how I want it to end. I want it to end with Kong winning, but realistically, that's a radioactive fucking dinosaur that can shoot a death ray from its mouth. But I feel like the formulaic studio is gonna end with them on a peaceful note of some kind of unnatural truce. Like you can't get rid of Kong or Godzilla, so they both wind up beating each other unconscious, or for some reason it climaxes in a fight, people walk away wounded but nobody dies, or someone gets the upper hand but you realize the loser went away because they wanted to, or some shit like that.
Okay, double down on how crazy you're thinking it gets. I think crazier. Wait, if you push, okay, and then you'll know exactly what I mean, like without me saying a word.
I'm going to say it pulls a Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice and introduces a third villain that unites them against it. No?
Yeah, that's it. That's fucking it.
That's what happens?
That's exactly it. If you think about it even a second longer too, you'll guess who it is. Like,
is it the Mothing?
No. They already fought that in the last King of the Monsters.
Tell me it's Mecha Godzilla. Is it?
Got it. You got it.
Oh my god.
Dude, though, I guessed that going in, not reading a single review. It is so fucking funny how predictable this movie is. And they don't give a
Wow.
shit about the human characters. It really feels like that. So you shouldn't either.
Mecha Godzilla. Okay.
And the CGI on him
Wow.
looks a little rough too. But other than that, the movie does feel like a spectacle. Although I liked
Who-
Pacific Rim more. Like if I gotta
How much money do you think they spent on that movie? Especially considering if you spend any time on Vimeo or any time in like CGI YouTube, you'll see some of the most amazing independent production company VFX teams doing great stuff. How much do you think they spent on that? Are you Googling exactly how much it cost to make?
I am, but I want us to place bets before we find out.
All right.
You could hear me clicking away.
I'm going to say it cost them 60 million.
Oh, I was about to bet 100.
It could be. I didn't want to get ridiculous, but like, I mean, I don't think that's ridiculous.
I'm a ridiculous man. Okay. All right. I'm locking in my bet at that. That's for Skull Island. 160 for Skull Island.
Oh, this is going to be in the threes.
No, it was another 160 million for the production, for the budget. A handful of
that all
budget.
went to Millie Bobby Brown, right? That's where that money went to. What the fuck? So my favorite thing too is going to be in about 20 years going back and revisiting that film and seeing how shitty the animation looks, right? Because that's always what happens with
give it a
CGI.
year.
Probably. Fucking,
because honestly,
Lord of the Rings is already starting to like show its age graphically.
I think, even when I saw that, it's you could still see like a little green screen stuff, like a little shaky movement.
You can tell where they cut the screen in half, right? Like this is where the in-studio environment ends, and this is where the green screen begins. I wonder if LED walls will change that, right? Will the Mandalorian start to show its age, or has that sort of changed the game?
I still think, I also think about the cameras too, because with that, it's been easier to green screen things, with just like with higher resolutions on the camera so there's more pixels involved, and then it's easier to cut a line around someone. I mean, so there's everything on every angle on that one.
You're probably right.
I'm curious where LED goes.
The camera recording a visual graphic and shooting the live action using essentially like two different cameras to do it, and then stitching them both together makes it very, very easy to tell. But you're probably right. I mean, they do this movie magic every day. I'm pretty sure they're thinking long term, or maybe they don't really give a shit, right? This is not Transformers 6 Godzilla versus Kong. This is not something that they hope stands the test of time. People want to get paid and get the fuck home to their kids. I don't really know. But
even with that premise, it's still an enjoyable movie. Just enjoyable. Don't overthink it.
I'm looking forward to getting back in the studio. Maybe we record one of these from the studio at some point. We get it set up a room. Yeah, that'd be cool. We could also keep this format. It doesn't matter. But to do that, you got to get vaccinated. We all got to get vaccinated. Have you had your shots, Aaron?
First one this past Tuesday. No, past Tuesday.
No,
this past week.
Which one did you get?
Yeah, Pfizer
gang. Word squad.
Pfizer.
Yeah, I didn't have any symptoms after my second one. Like Moderna seems to like put people on bedside for like 2 days. Anything. Pfizer's just been like tired and headache most of what I've heard. My experience was just like felt like someone fucking slugged me in the arm really hard. Just had like a dead arm for about 2 days. Like I'm lifting 30 pounds all the time. Yeah. But
after the first shot, I really didn't feel anything. So I was happy about that. Yeah.
Keep your card. Keep your literal passport, because
the one they gave me.
Yeah, because they're gonna do a second shot, and then they're going to do like a follow-up shot or a booster shot, maybe one or two in 6 months to a year or something. But the card is important because venues are starting to check to see if you've been vaccinated. Schools are requiring vaccination before kids come on campus. There are certain countries playing around with that idea. Some festivals have said vaccination required, proof of vaccination, or clean COVID test. So I would say keep that shit handy. I'm happy that people are doing the right thing, and hopefully we'll be on the other end of this in no time. Until then, you got us
Pfizer gang
over.
Please clap.
Pfizer gang, let us know which set you rep. You got us over vmix onto the Quest and Chaos channel. As we get into the main event tonight,
hell yes,
Justice League. What is it? Snyder versus Whedon? What is it?
The Snyder Cut versus the. My favorite thing people call it is the Justice League. That's my favorite part.
This is not. You talk about like CGI aging well. The glaring difference between these two cuts is not gonna help his career. Not his career, but like how people remember him.
Hell yeah.
Like
from the first scene alone, it is immediately like from the first scene alone from both movies, you understand like, oh, this is how he fucked it up.
Yeah. So a lot of things, just in terms of an overarching thought, like I did like some things from both universes more than the other ones, and I desperately wanted to mix aspects of both to make my personal movie. I think
both movies.
I think the perfect movie is somewhere in the middle, slightly closer to Snyder. Maybe slightly closer to Snyder. But I always get at editors for cutting way too much. I thought that the difference between the two in terms of editing was extremely evident. But on the Snyder Cut as well as the Justice League, I found things that like definitely needed more explanation. Like you kept this, but you cut that, or like you didn't keep this like 3-second conversation, but like you kept the woman sniffing Aquaman's shirt by the river. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where this taught me also to, one, I still hate fucking editors, but also like I blame aesthetics more than their hatchet that they take to films. Yeah.
I think the right editor gets the context of what the scene should be.
The right editor is there while you're filming.
And besides, like it also depends on the fact that that the director had his hand involved, like to go from what Zack Snyder shot and was thinking to cut that in midway and just give it to Joss Whedon. Looking back at his work, he loves campier stuff. The first Avengers is very campy, and I love that movie, but the first 40 minutes of it is a bit of a trek. It's a bit rough. It's a little campy, and I think I would equate just the Justice League cut to the DC animated movie Justice League War, where it would basically felt like it was straight out of the comic. All these superheroes met for the first time because Darkseid's coming in to kick some ass for some reason. And it just happens really abruptly, but it's not that jarring for a cartoon. It's way more jarring for this live action version, and I don't see why Whedon doubled down on that.
Because in the live action version, you've got like a certain amount of time to care for these people. Things are pulling you forward, whereas like on a comic, you can go from one panel to the next panel, and even though it makes maybe a significant time jump, your imagination as you sit on that page is like tying the loose ends together, right? And that conversation is taking on the tone and tenor you want it to, but in this film, it's happening a very specific way. And I had a very like reaction to a lot of that on Whedon's, but also on Snyder's. I think the camp there were a lot of the fight scenes in Justice League worked a lot better because of the camp. I feel
Whedon cut or Snyder cut.
Yeah. I like the Justice
it gets confusing.
League. Inside dialogue, right? It becomes too much, and you can really, really see where they dialed up the camp in the Justice League to sort of match like that Marvel quirk. And you're just like, no, don't do that here. No, let's cultivate our own thing, right? It's like trying to copy somebody else's features. Like just you've got your own thing going for you and you're good. Like have the confidence. You're Superman,
Yeah. And like the vibe I got from Snyder, from the Snyder Cut is just like I got the sense I don't love Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman. I think if I had to pick between the two, I think I'd like Man of Steel at least more than BVS, just in terms of the story. But what I'm saying is I now see Snyder's train of thought from one movie to the next to now, to his plan. and that's way more satisfying. It felt like
Yep.
he really was building on the back of everything and doing his own thing.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's a
I
lot.
from oh, sorry. Some stuff from his interviews also would be proof for that.
You had mentioned before about like them being thrown together, right? And that kind of worked a little bit in Whedon's in the Justice League, whereas over the 6 hour, 6 chapter thing, you know, you start to pull on emotional threads of each character's like interconnectedness to each other. And like in the first 30 minutes of Justice League, like, all right, you're here, you've got the portfolio, you know where to look for them. Whereas inside the Snyderverse, right, it's really sort of like a sappy, you're trying to learn to do whatever, and you're, visiting the dad, and becoming more endeared to Barry Allen as he, saves people, loses his shoes, grabs hot dogs so that the dogs could love him and secure a job all at once, right? Whereas in the Justice League, just, the scene in the jail where he like draws on the guy's face and his dad is doing all this stuff, like, when do you have time to live? Did I just freeze?
A few minutes later.
Yeah, what's up? I'm gonna have the editor put in a with like an elapsed time underneath. So it'll be bars and tone, and then SpongeBob, 2 hours later, and then back to us.
He's gonna keep that in
there. Welcome back. I'm sorry, of course, the most anticipated episode of the year. We encountered technical difficulties, but they should be resolved, i.e. I'm on Wi-Fi on one device, but now I'm on Wi-Fi on Ethernet on 2 devices, so I don't anticipate having any issues, but unfortunately, I don't remember what the fuck we were talking about. So
I do know. I've been thinking about it this whole time, so I don't forget it.
Take it away.
You just brought it, okay, and because I want to talk about the Flash from the Snyder Cut and how my feelings drastically fucking changed, like night and day. And I don't think he's like still my favorite character, but night and day in terms of how much I actually cared. But you said something about in the old one he drew on someone's face at some point, and I didn't get that.
So
like I don't even remember that scene actually.
Not needing to have this long drawn out relationship and go through the origin backstory of him saving the woman in the car crash with the truck and the hot dog, burning out his shoes, and then getting hot dogs so that the puppies would like him so that he could get the job to pay for the criminal thing. And then his dad is like, you have all these jobs? Wow. It was cool to see his power, but like I really liked in the Justice League where he went to go visit his dad. Someone in line was giving him shit, and he was just like, dude, all right, whatever. When the guy was like the next person in line, and he had like pirate stuff and scars drawn all over his face with a marker, and he had no clue. So like the Flash had done that without his knowledge right in front of his face. And then his dad, like the conversation with his dad the relationship could be summed up via Bruce Wayne's update and then like those little interactions. I wonder how much, like, I hate explainers, right? Why, like, Aquaman is sitting on the lasso, or in the beginning, Wonder Woman, the beginning of completely different. Like, I really appreciate Wonder Woman making the thing explode. But when she grabs the guy and she's like, the lasso of so-and-so compels you to tell the truth. Like, why did I need that, Joss? Like, if you're this old,
new audience members, for some reason.
How much time that took away, like, cumulatively, like 15 seconds that you could have given to Victor Stone with his relationship with his dad, or like incorporated some other like key origin. Like, if they don't know, don't hold their fucking hand. Like, I'm in that camp. Like, that's the kind of thing that I want editing to fucking get rid of. And I wonder how much time they spent just explaining shit to people, right? The slow burn of like the village talk scene was great on the Snyder Cut, but it was it went from like, hi, I'm here from the village, I'm Bruce Wayne, I hear you talk to fish. But I think Snyder played that scene fucking perfectly.
I think it went on a little too long, but I overall I agree.
So like, give more time to shit like that versus like, And this is for the new audience who are going to account for 15% of the revenue on merchandise sales of the lasso because they really like that fucking, like, fuck you.
No, God!
Stop doing that.
Was this for the kid in or some like if you didn't make this for the fans at all? You made this in like the guise of like this is gonna be a family movie for everybody to enjoy, and then at the end of the Justice League cut, no one enjoyed it. Well, like at least the majority of it.
I really, really want to like Wonder Woman. I really.
A, you're gonna hate her after Wonder Woman 84, and B, yeah, I agree. She's like, she's really hard to like take seriously in a conversation for some reason. Like, and it sucks because I think she plays and acts, she performs the role perfectly.
Yes,
in her motion, in her movements, in her fight, and even like the way she like is kind of very Superman-esque, like classic Superman-esque, where she's like, you will not stop, I will protect these people or something. And that's kind of neat. I like that. But again, serious scenes where they're just talking and having coffee, it's like I can't. You need subtitles.
I'm having a problem with the physique. And I'm not body shaming or anything, but like, is she gonna go head to head with Superman? Like, you know what? Who I'm thinking of in terms of like,
she literally did though.
A good Amazon, Gina Carano, Mrs. Maga. Like, that's who I think when I think fucking the Mandalorian. She got kicked off the thing because of the Maga shit.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's why. I see that. Yeah, she's a bit of a badass. I like that. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I could buy that. I'd buy, but see, I don't know if commercial audiences would, because like I only want to say that because Wonder Woman is such a campy, dated superhero, and to make her like really.
But yes,
so?
but no, like
okay.
It's completely relevant now. It's one of those superheroes that were like in the 90s, like, yeah, okay, this is like, you can clearly see the time era that this was written in. But now, like, the lessons of Wonder Woman are completely applicable. And you see a lot of that. Snyder pulled that out the best. Whoever was writing for her was not writing for Gal Gadot, is what I feel like. Because the message, like, I just couldn't get past the veil. And just even the conversation she had with the young woman at the beginning, like, you can be whatever you want, you know, like it's very, very relevant. And
yeah,
I think I might have mentioned before that like New York Times did like a documentary on like the origins of Wonder Woman, and I believe the creator of Wonder Woman also invented the lie detector test. There's some link there. So the lasso of that, the lasso of truth is like her greatest weapon. So like, if you go into Justice League, you don't know what the fucking lasso of truth is. Like, what are you doing here? Right? You got to go back a few more. You got to do a little bit more research before you come in and sit here.
Yeah, because I didn't know a lot about Wonder Woman growing up, and I didn't even know a lot of the shows she had existed. But yeah, I knew of the lasso of truth. I knew that was even kind of a staple in pop culture.
When Batman v Superman came out, I was dating a girl, and we went out to see it together. She did not like it because of Wonder Woman's depiction. Basically, like, why does she need to have a skirt? I was like, yeah, it's always impractical that the female superheroes have like some sort of riser, elevated sort of heel stuff. But like the breastplate and all that stuff, she had a big problem with that. I was like, you realize she's an Amazon, right? Like, you're lucky she's wearing clothes at all. Like, these, they completely brute force it and gives no fucks. But I think there's a lot. This is the time to remake Wonder Woman, right? Like, this is the time to reimagine Wonder Woman. And I don't know.
Reboot her.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I'm probably way out of my depth here. I can't write for a female character because I'm not a female character. But I don't know that they've reimagined her from who's the original Wonder Woman? I can't remember the woman's name.
I don't know her name, but I know she was in Wonder Woman 84 as like a quick cameo. She still looks great. I'm gonna say that. But also,
look at you judging her on her appearance. You fucking chauvinist asshole.
You look great. I don't think that's a derogatory thing at all. I think that's a compliment to anyone. What is her name? I'll just write the OG Wonder Woman. But what's your point about her?
No, I don't think that Wonder Woman has changed at all since that original character.
I think
Like Superman has gone from this
it,
Boy Scout to this like completely conflicted,
like he was kind of an emo
political.
boy. I will say he was a little emo, where he was just like, I can't help all these people. They're all too shitty. Like the human race is just so shitty. I'm always gonna be helping these people. That's the vibe I got initially. But
Batman has gone from this great detective to this like larger than life master plotter, right? Like Batman is always 15 steps ahead of you, and that's his greatest superpower, right? This whole thing is a part of his plan.
Linda Carter is her name.
Linda Carter. I feel so ashamed by not knowing that. People probably screaming at their fucking.
Speaking of Batman, I like to say I like how he pulled everyone in this movie. He feels like he's the glue that's really trying to keep everyone together, but at the same time, he does not feel like my favorite interpretation of Batman. Like, even compared to Batman versus Superman Batman, I think I enjoyed that version and that story more than this one, because it seems like he went from such a dark, gritty, I'm coming out of retirement and I don't care who gets paralyzed kind of Batman, versus this Batman who's like, I have faith in my friends.
Are you talking about,
and,
the Joss, the Joss?
I'm saying,
or are you talking about Snyder's?
I say specifically in the Snyder Cut versus Man of Steel Batman. The Joss Whedon cut Batman, I don't know. I don't remember a lot about him. I really don't. There was some campy stuff, and it was some weird stuff like that shouldn't have been in there.
It's weird because the Justice League, that Batman was way more of a it had way more of a I'm sewing you together by the seat of my pants because I have to, because it's only a 2-hour movie, so we're much more disjointed team. And it came out in the line with Alfred during the fight where Batman was like, this isn't part of the plan, and Alfred's like, no, Master Wayne, it's the team. This isn't the plan. And he's like, no, Master Wayne, it's the team. And I was like, yo, okay, that kind of camp fucking works. But I wanted that disjointed Whedon Batman in the Snyder verse, because at that point, Batman and Wonder Woman were going head to head in the Justice League, right? They were kind of like at odds a little bit. In the Snyderverse, they've shifted that dynamic to Wonder Woman and Aquaman, so that they were like having a little bit of friction. I would much prefer that like the Batman be the one to convince everybody against their will without this larger grandiose sense of purpose. The Snyder Cut was more like, this is humanity's last legs, and the Justice League was more of like rallying a football team in the fourth quarter for this come behind victory. That's
yeah. In my mind, I saw that the Justice for the Whedon cut Batman as like kind of a grumpy grandpa, you know. He was more reluctant to kind of pull everyone together. In this one, I like the fact that they switched it up and they had Aquaman and Wonder Woman. It feels like they still had Aquaman and Wonder Woman at odds in the last one, but in the Snyder Cut, it's more endearing because of how they interacted and how they started to understand each other. Like, there's multiple scenes of them just like, okay, like kind of getting each other's points of view, but not liking it. But they get it, and that's the important part. So I was okay with that. And it alludes to other universe stuff if a Snyderverse comes back, like the war between the.
I don't know how you go back to a Justice League after the Snyder Cut. You don't. You bury the film if you think that, or all the actors walk away. But bringing it back to the Wonder Woman,
pissed with him.
The Wonder Woman scene, the lasso explaining the fucking lasso. How do you explain the lasso? You have Aquaman sit on it and just start spilling his guts, right? The Justice League did that perfectly. I thought that's time well spent.
I was fine with that joke. Yeah, I agree. That's good.
But two things that just in terms of the movie itself, right? They both reference the Speedforce in the snippets for the Batman. I believe is it the Justice League? It's Batman versus Superman in Snyder, where the Flash travels back in time to tell him like, you were always right about him, fear him. That is the timeline that I want it to go down. And that's sort of the Injustice timeline where Superman becomes a tyrant. I don't know how you do that in the Justice League now. If you go back to Joss Whedon's thing and continue it, tie that together.
Yeah, it's so broken. It really wouldn't work. I agree.
That Joker doesn't even fit in that world, right? Like Jared Leto's
Yeah.
Joker doesn't even fit in Justice League. Like I
very-
have a hard time watching him on screen with
And
Superman.
they were
But
that's not
it
the
worked.
first scene they were together too, though. Okay, so that's how you felt about it then. You were fine with it. That scene.
What? Go ahead.
The Joker and Batman part, the scene in Snyder Cut.
Yes,
You were fine with that.
I actually love that scene. I really
Okay.
like that scene.
All right. I was on the
because
fence.
how long would you say that scene was? That's the extent of how if Joker's run in that movie.
I would say 5 minutes. I would
5 minutes.
guess.
They covered a lot of ground in 5 minutes, right? They
Yeah.
alluded to the death of of Robin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dick Grayson, I believe. They alluded to the death of Harley Quinn and Lois Lane, and they dig
bit
into
of their relationship and how well they know each other with some subtleties.
a little
You know
bit,
what I mean?
yeah.
Where he's like, "I'll fucking kill you," and he's like, "Nah, you won't."
You almost
Like-
had me. Like,
or yeah, you almost.
you almost had me. I almost believed you, Bruce. Mira, I thought Snyder did a better job of explaining why I should care about Mira at all. Because even in Aquaman, like, oh, okay, like she's not really that powerful.
Cap.
But in the Snyder
Yeah.
Cut, I was like, she used her like water immersion power, like really success. She almost like drowned Steppenwolf in his
Yeah, she
own
really
lungs.
made
That
him
was
fight.
amazing. Yeah, she. So
the updates to the action in this movie are really well utilized. I think they updated the action perfectly. There's a lot of scenes that seem even more intense, and in the last movie, just because I wasn't invested, those scenes just felt kind of like okay, a cartoon. You know, I wasn't pulled in.
What about the ending of the Justice League? Right. First of all, let's talk. I don't want to talk about how bad Lex Luthor casting is, but Deathstroke and Lex Luthor on the yacht talking about their own league, like fucking cringe meter off the roof, man. But I see the same Deathstroke in Snyder's ending without having to call his name or explain who he is, and you know who the fuck he is if you're like into,
or you at least remember him
if
you're new, which is important.
Where was he before?
No, I said if you're new to like the Snyderverse kind of thing, if you're new to
you'll remember him for next
in
time.
general. Yeah, he seems like that unique of a character.
Yeah. He's the only person you hadn't seen up until that point with the Joker, and you're just like, what the fuck? Who are these people? And then if you know them, you're like, fuck, they're working together. And then seeing the Flash in his like Speedforce time travel regalia was badass as well. I think the Flash and Cyborg are the Justice League, right? Like they are the members of the Justice League that tie together. Without them, you just got three superheroes.
Especially with like the fact, like I always compared Marvel as like their everyday, just the comics and everything, as like they're people trying to become heroes. You know, they're trying to grow stronger every day. But in the DC world, it feels like, except for Batman, they are, when they get their powers, at a god tier level, and the struggle really comes with their humanity and dealing with that, or you know, or the villains that will cause, you know, huge massive destruction to their city that they're trying to protect. So I think he really displayed that in really well in the Snyder Cut, because they all really felt so OP, especially Flash. He was practically broken if you think about it, though.
No,
which is a bit of yes, he is. He can rewind time. He could only go back a second, but think about it. Like he could keep rewinding time, and they could keep going back.
That's the Flash. That's the Flash. If Flash can't do that, they don't stand a chance against Superman.
Yeah. And that scene was still badass. Like, still the best part of one of the best fights was definitely Superman versus them, and him just his eyes creeping up on the Flash while he's running.
Before
Still
the Flash learned how to do it. I think at the end of the Justice League, you see the scene where Superman and the Flash race. They did that in the animated series, and they raced around the world a few times. It was badass, and they were like doing this and that. And
love that episode.
There's a whole bunch of scenes. There's a scene in the comic book where the Superman and Flash are on the spaceship orbiting Earth, and they're just like playing chess. They're playing like time chess, but they're moving at like the speed of light, playing this like time game of chess. And they're having just like a normal conversation. They're basically debating guns. over this game of chess. And in this conversation, they've had like 5 to 6 games of chess. And they're like, yeah, you know, in a day, me and you together, we can wipe out every single gun on the planet. Like there'd be nothing left, no munitions, no nothing. And Superman was like, yeah, we could, but like then they'd resent us and hate us. They have to come back. They were having like that whole debate. So you really get to see the Flash asks, he's like, so how fast are you? But then in the animated series, now I'm just going on a nostalgia trip. Superman was talking to the Flash about something, and Superman was like, remember, Barry, I'm just as fast as you are. And Barry just like kind of looks at him. He's like, Superman, that was for charity. Like that, the race that they had. He's like, let's be serious here. Like, stop it.
Like it wasn't life threatening.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been at that line. That's amazing.
And I know I'm very long-winded in that story, but I
it.
feel like those very small snackable, like, let's be real here, Batman. Let's be realistic here, Superman. Come on, work to tell you a larger story. Like, you don't need to fucking butter everybody's biscuit, man. You don't need to tell everyone. And this is where and the lasso gets his power from here. And like, this is the daughter of a god. Like,
yeah.
It's up to you, audience member, to do some fucking digging before you go into this movie.
Okay.
Right? You're slowing it down for the rest of us, for fuck's sake.
Well, I think at least they should have something not so blatant, as in, this is my lasso of truth, burglar. It's definitely more implied. So I agree. I like from the Justice Cut some like quick 5-second scenes. In fact, honestly, when it came to the climax, I liked the red coloration in the sky in the Justice Cut more than I liked at the end of the Snyder Cut, because I don't know, they kept comparing it. I think there was like some allusion to the word hell, or that it was like, it was going to be a nightmare scape. So I just thought it was literally going to be they're fighting in this red sky environment, which would have fit the tone a little more, only improving like how awesome and powerful they are.
Yeah,
because they literally would have been gods fighting in a hell. Like, and I think that's awesome, especially seeing how the movie ended, not the epilogue, but like how they beat Steppenwolf. Like that scene is ingrained in my mind.
So in the Justice League, they carry Steppenwolf away after he gets fear after his loss. In the Snyder Cut, which is what I prefer, they cut him in half and they send his head back to Darkseid. That becomes a little bit more palatable, only because if Darkseid and Steppenwolf come back to Earth, you guys are fucked. Like, you can't do both. Like, you guys are pretty much screwed. So that like ties together that string. Also, honestly, portal that Darkseid was looking through, he could have reached his hand in there and just fucking scooped all of them in one he could have Omega beamed the fuck out. The fact that he didn't just like nuke them from afar, he's like, I'm gonna have some fun taking this planet back. But I think that they nerfed him too much. I would have preferred it to have been Steppenwolf, who came to Earth earlier, versus Darkseid being housed by Zeus, Hermes, and all the gods and lanterns. Because seeing Darkseid with a mortal wound, really like, puts a kink in his armor.
That was his introduction. Like, Darkseid looking like a bitch. Like, it was not. Yeah, it didn't create a high bar for him. That
would not happen.
Well, like, it's cool, and also build him up, but like, I don't know why. Yeah, I think that's a good call. I would have gone with the Steppenwolf on Earth first.
Darkseid thinks he's a god. Like, he's just a maniac. He thinks he's a fucking god. The one thing that like fight sports does, it like puts your ego in check, right? Especially after a defeat like that, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure Conor McGregor doesn't think he's a god anymore after being knocked the fuck out and being choked out, right? Maybe when you're undefeated, you have that sort of bout with your ego, but
I'm simply heartbroken.
having to have your corpse pulled off of a planet by your minions, like, that's pretty fallible.
Yeah, I'm not really scared of this dude right now, but
why are we following him again? Yeah, exactly.
That like reminds me of something. Like, I didn't get why he forgot where the mother boxes were. Also from that, like, it said he forgot, and when I looked up, I saw a review, but also it was a quote from Snyder Cut's from Snyder in an interview, basically saying the reason he forgets it's because he was so injured from the attack or from the battle that he was mortally wounded. He healed for months, and then he basically woke up and he forgot. He forgot about it completely. What I want to say is it's a blessing and a curse the way Zack Snyder films stuff, because he uses that slow motion to make you think. But then sometimes when he's not using slow motion, you have nothing, and he gives no implication. Sometimes it's impossible to think the way he's thinking, because I never would have assumed he just fucking forgot.
Yeah, I have a big fucking problem with that. You had all these forces come from different planets and gods. Like, you could have said that he had no idea where they would be, and the last thing he wanted to do is go back to the place of his last defeat, right? Like, yeah, that'd be the perfect place to shelter it. But, you know, one of the Lantern Corps could have taken it or something. Like, it could be anywhere in the universe, and they've gone quiet. So, like, I don't know, but you forgot. Right? These aren't fucking car keys. Like, you forgot where you put them.
Where did I put it?
Some of the things that both of them do right? Like, they allude to Grodd, who is one of the Flash's universe nemesis, right? The ape.
Oh, I forgot about that in both.
When Barry Allen's talking about like his resume to Bruce Wayne, he's like, "What do you do?" And he's like, he's like, "I do this, I do that. I'm a criminal justice, and I can speak sign language, but you know, only gorilla sign language." And it's it's like less than 2 seconds, right? But that's like, I appreciate shit like that. Or when Batman is talking to Wonder Woman and alludes to the Doomsday Clock, which is like, you can't really say that and not pull in thoughts of Dr. Manhattan, right? I would love, you know how you salvage this entire, you know, storyline?
That would be perfect.
If you have the Injustice timeline and then you bring it back with Dr. Manhattan coming through to just remind them all of like larger forces, but the Doomsday Clock comes way later, right? They have to get past Injustice. It's not even on the same timeline, but like, it can work. It can.
I don't know why. You've
already established time travel. It can work.
I didn't even realize for some reason, like, I knew Watchmen was DC, but for some reason I never thought, like, because of the financial barrier, that they would combine those two, and they should. They should combine the Zack Snyder's Watchmen with this shit. I feel like he would do a good combo. He would definitely do Doomsday Clock justice.
The thing with this is why, like, they're in it to make money, and you get it because you have to like make money so you can keep doing this. But they wanted at the end of the Snyderverse, we got a great look into another character, Martian Manhunter, who appears at the end to Bruce and is just kind of like, "Oh, hey, okay, yeah, I've been watching, thanks, yeah, whatever." After having pretended to be Clark's mom and talking to Lois Lane, which didn't happen in the Justice League, but at all. But that character was supposed to be, I believe, John Stewart for the Green Lantern, for the Lantern Corps, returning from, like, that would make a lot of sense. Like, where the fuck have you been? We could have used you like an hour ago, man.
They're like the cops of this world, of a galaxy.
Basically,
you know what I mean?
They opted to go with Martian the Manhunter, who's like a super
Marvin the Martian.
I wish. Martian Manhunter, Alphonse or Al something, I forget his fucking name, but he is fucking OP. Like, he's strong. He's like Superman, but his weakness plus.
But his like kryptonite. I didn't know he was stronger. I knew he could.
He's stronger than Superman.
And really, huh?
Yeah, he's stronger than Superman.
But his weakness is more common, being fire and stuff like that.
I don't know.
I only know from some media I've seen that it's fire, and that's what makes him a little more like, you know, life threatened, like a little more tense for this hero, knowing it's so common.
The problem I had with Martian Manhunter was, like, he was already on Earth when Steppenwolf got the mother boxes. I have a hard time thinking that he would just ignore it and let it play out,
especially when
knowing
he's like a part of the military.
Yeah,
like, wasn't he the dude in Man of Steel who was like, "You crashed my jet, my $1 million drone"? At the end of Man of Steel, he's like, "You crashed my $1 million drone." Martian Manhunter.
That's that actor. That's that actor.
So, but that means he's infiltrated the military, and at some point he should have given. You're right. He should have given a shit about all this going on. They
didn't say. So maybe they used that actor to tie that together. But when in the Snyder Cut, after she leaves Lois's apartment, Clark's mom becomes the Manhunter, right?
Yeah.
At no point in Man of Steel do they allude to that military character being the Manhunter, Martian Manhunter?
I get. Yeah, okay. I guess I would only
It could be
assume,
coincidence.
yeah.
You know what? It's not. You know what? There's
I
no
would
way
only
they would.
assume
It's not
because
coincidence. You're probably right.
I'm hoping. I would only assume because like yeah, he in the moment he was like really adamant about the drone. I mean, they gave no Martian Manhunter implication. 60-40. I feel like it could go either way. But but I do have a complaint with Martian Manhunter in the Snyder Cut. I think maybe at the end it makes sense in the epilogue. Maybe like why would he go to Batman instead of why would he go to Batman instead of a Kryptonian or a like someone else from out another alien of his kind? I feel like he would have told anyone else other than Batman, but maybe
I feel like
minds or something. But
he does read minds.
But again,
he is telepathic.
But again, I don't think,
dude, he is OP.
His scene with when he transforms from Superman's mom into Martian Manhunter was very jarring, and I really wish they cut that scene right after the mom. I really wish I don't even like Lois Lane in these movies with Amy Adams and stuff like that. But that scene was emotional enough to stand on its own, and to have her go, all right, bye, like transform. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I really didn't enjoy that twist. It didn't work for me, personally.
That worked for me only because you needed that to set the stage for the Manhunter's entrance. But even without that, you're like, wow, Lois Lane is being manipulated by somebody. And you know the good guys that you already know can't do that. Who is this person? And then to see sort of like the Injustice timeline, right? You're like, there's a lot of fucking things at play here. Like, is this like a Brainiac ploy? Like, who else are they gonna introduce? Like,
yeah.
I like when it teases your mind like that. I would prefer to dump a bunch of references into it and like have you sort it out versus like to spend an hour explaining something.
In my opinion, though, like dumping a bunch of references is like what gave us the Justice League, because it felt like a bunch of references. No, I'm trying to think of a better example than that. Well, regardless, I think this didn't have as many references to some comic stuff. I'm trying to decipher what would be and wouldn't be considered a reference to. That's why I'm being thrown off.
Cyborg. I love Cyborg. Cyborg's an amazing character, and he's got amazing backstory and amazing abilities, and his inner conflict between him and the Grid and also him and his father is amazing. Justice League completely hacked him to shit. You got nothing out of him. Yes, his story was completely muted. And in the Snyder Cut, you have this kind of longer drawn out relationship and evolution of learning, and like I am a monster and all that other stuff, like just expanded outside of just a kitchen scene. And the only reference you get in the Justice League is at the end where he goes booyah, right? Like that's his like.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. That's what he does.
It's very jarring considering where we were introduced to this character not 2 hours ago, going through a very traumatic experience and relational problems with his father. Like it doesn't fit the tone to say booyah at an apocalyptic moment at all.
I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I hope they tell the story of him and Grid. The DC Doom Patrol does a great job of telling the story of Grid and Cyborg as like this competing intelligence trying to take over his humanity. Grid also plays a big part, and Cyborg plays a big part in siding with Superman during the Injustice war or the like Injustice storyline. So I have no idea where they're going to bring him, but I hope they dive into him a little bit more. And I would have been happy with, just to bring it full circle, with like more fucking references, just quick drop references to like what they plan to do with him, right? His dad sacrificing himself in the Snyder Cut and leaving him a clue starts to tell you a little bit about like how smart this guy is. Also like his ability to hack into anything. Like in the Justice League, the Mother Box is basically a supercomputer so powerful it looks like magic.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, we're just supposed to believe in the Justice League that Cyborg can hack into this thing, right? Like, he just plugs in. He's like, here we go. We're doing this.
We're one and the same, and I know
Yeah.
it now. Like, there's no buildup
But
at all.
but it makes sense in the Snyder Cut because they spent the
Hell yeah.
time to nurture that development, and like there's a lot going on here that I don't understand, but like I'm plugged into all of it.
Walking away from the Snyder Cut, I think my favorite part is Cyborg and the justice he got as a character and how they displayed that. Like, I think they did a lot of the stuff you're looking for when they drop subtle things, whether it's a reference to his character development or something they're seeding forward, or it's like an actual reference to the comic book. I think they play him so beautifully, especially the moment when he's like he hacks an ATM. So that way the mother in, the poor mom with her kid is, struggling to help her kid, just gets riddled with money. Just so much money in an account. I love that moment. Like, and I think that was a great relatable moment and to just fall in love with Cyborg. And that just kept me the whole way going, especially as how they showed his background. Like I'm trying to remember if he was just asleep or if he was like in the mother box in one of them at some point. And he was replaying the incident with his family, and
Yeah,
he was seeing like how the incident occurred, which looked amazing.
I don't remember that, but yeah,
there's a lot of good moments with him.
Yeah,
it's basically the moment, if you remember this shot, where it's in slow motion, clearly, and he's sprinting on the football field. There's like one moment where he's like, I guess asleep or dreaming, or I'm trying to remember the context. It's a long movie.
And he goes into the crowd after he scores a touchdown. Yeah. I had a problem with that. Only for stupid reasons. But I know that scene that you're talking about now, right? He looks up into the crowd and his dad's not there because his dad's working hard, churning the midnight oil. It's just him and his mom. I have a problem with that as a football player. One, that path to the fucking end zone, like that's a stretch, all right, but we can suspend belief.
It's a high school game.
How many times? It's a college game. I thought they were in like big name college. Yeah, he's Victor Stone's All-American, man. How many times in real life do people score touchdowns and take their helmets off to celebrate?
Maybe it was the end of the game.
It never happens, dude. It never fucking happens. You know why? Because they'll call it back. That's a personal foul. That is what is that? Unsportsmanlike conduct. You can't fucking do. But every movie
that falls
likes to have their fucking football players score a touchdown and take their helmet off and fucking It happened in Any Given Sunday, which is one of my favorite movies, and Terrell Owens of all people did it. I was just so disappointed, and the justification I made is that, like, okay, Oliver Stone is used to directing political fucking thrillers. He doesn't know shit about sports or sports movies, so I can forgive this.
Yeah, I watched them like cheer and then immediately get like a whistle called on them.
Yeah, basically flags everywhere. Like, sorry, the movie ends on 15-yard penalty. Game over. You just fucking blew it. No one does that. Anyway, yeah, this is like you're in there taking notes, but me, I'm like the Virgo in me is just like this is a sin I'm never gonna be able to forgive in your movie. This is I can't look past this.
Oh my god, that's the moment. I wasn't bothered by that, but that's
I'm very aware. I'm watching a movie right now. You've just completely ruined the illusion for me. Thank you so much, Zach.
I will say this: the movie is significantly better than the Justice Cut, and I enjoyed it way more. I would rewatch it again, honestly. Sometimes I wasn't a fan of the 4:3 ratio, but I'll by saying like it's not a perfect movie, but it's way more enjoyable. Like there's moments like that. Like even Wonder Woman's introduction is a little bullshit because she was about to stop the final bank robber. And he's loading his gun and it's already been set up. She moves almost as fast as the Flash and Superman. Like maybe she's the third fastest, but she's literally there. People are being thrown and twisted in the air like she's Quicksilver or some shit. And then she beats the dude with the bomb. She throws the bomb away and she's like, good, I saved the building from blowing up. And then she clashes her bracelets together and blows up a hole in the fucking wall when she could have stopped him from even loading the gun. She gave him the time to load the gun. It's great, but not perfect.
I like that scene because of the speed that it gave her. She's a force, man. She's like super fucking powerful. I just think you got the wrong actress in there. That like I didn't really with Snyder Cut. I didn't think it was. I didn't think she was OP. I thought she was like well suited.
I don't think she's believable as an actress. She's a beautiful model, and there's. But I agree. I think they could have gotten someone more charismatic for the role, even though it's just like good enough. You know what I mean? Like I can't really nitpick
it's not Black
it.
Widow. She's not distracting. It's good enough.
Black Widow, but think of it. Black Widow isn't even a character. Like I enjoy Black Widow as a side character in most of the movies, but I can't imagine what like seeing her in her own movie. I don't. And I also don't have the bias of Scarlett Johansson, unless she's in The Prestige. She was pretty bad in that. She was pretty bad in The Prestige.
I actually liked Lucy. I thought Lucy was pretty good.
I hated Lucy. Are you kidding me?
Really?
It was like
Wow.
it was a worse version of Limitless. Like it was like, but what if you got superpowers from using your brain though? And
What?
I'm like, no, you don't. Like you don't though.
All right, we're gonna steer this conversation back. Steppenwolf.
Oh yeah.
In the Snyder Cut, his shield, his suit of armor, right, with the sharp thorns and it's like bio interactive. It like reveals and goes up as a part of his will, and also how he communes with Darkseid on the main planet, like super badass by putting the thing in the wall and having that monument become a living photorealistic presence. Amazing. I thought
his whole
redesign
is definitely great.
The redesign was great. We already talked about how much the ending was good. With the timeline of the Snyder Cut, it made that Steppenwolf's presence, even though you knew kind of what was going to happen, the fact that like he could really appear anywhere and fuck shit up. The only real Steppenwolf. And also the fight, it made it a lot more believable when Superman came in at the end versus to like come in and then leave to save civilians and then come back to kicking Steppenwolf's ass. Like that's a little too easy in the Justice League.
It was way better paced out for sure.
Yeah, it was the pacing of Steppenwolf and what it means to behead a being like that and send it back to Desaad and Darkseid was huge. Because we spent all of this time trying to combat this one guy who is very clearly subservient to this godlike being, who for some reason had a mortal wound in the first 10 seconds of meeting him. But still, Darkseid is like, people leave universes, like entire universes behind to like, they're like, up, Darkseid show up. This place is a wash. So let's just don't
it's
try.
Over.
It's over. Let's just move. Let's try to move on. Yeah,
I wish we got that presence from him, because we, like you said, like the first 10 seconds of meeting him, he's mortally wounded, and I'm not feeling it after that. And especially with how easy a job it was for Superman specifically to remove Steppenwolf. Really didn't. Let's say the Snyderverse comes back, Darkseid is going to be like maxed out and leveled up like crazy in order to be a sweat for Superman, because Steppenwolf was literally nothing to him. I heard like on Twitter, literally before I finished the movie, I paused it at some second, I saw some reference, or like people on Twitter were like freaking out about the Steppenwolf versus Superman fight. They were like, oh, it's so fucking badass. In my mind, badass is these opponents are just barely equal and you can't tell who's about to win. That is so in my mind, it was badass in the sense that Superman just kicked the shit out of him. He just curb stomped him, lasered his ear off, threw him again, kicked him again. It was a massacre. Like I said, I think for Darkseid, it's not as threatening when you see Darkseid sweating. Like maybe that's why he didn't shoot his Omega beams, because he was scared a little shitless.
There was also other things like Darkseid's posture, right? He's usually got his hands behind his back and he's like carrying himself with the air of a god. But when he turned to the portal, his hands were by his side and like he was like at the ready.
Yeah.
And he like quite literally could have just reached through and just smashed on them. But he didn't. And I think that should say that he has lost his fear of any kind of anybody since the last time he fell. But you're taking so much time to explain things to people. You've just watched Zeus kick the shit out of Darkseid. And now, we're supposed to be scared of him. Like we've got Superman. Like there's that first war that Snyder did really well in terms of like that war lasted like 10, 12 minutes on screen, which was great.
It's good. Yeah.
It was amazing. That war should have been Steppenwolf. Joss had it right? Like that should have been Steppenwolf, and Darkseid should have been just like watching or something.
I think that would have.
And then also having Darkseid go back to a planet. How could he forget? Steppenwolf remembered. He remembered enough to go back to the planet where you fell. That's where the boxes were.
Here's my defense for that, though, is like it was more so the scream of Superman, which is great. That was a great intro by comparison to the Justice League cut. The film opening with the death of Superman and his scream putting shockwaves throughout the rest of the world.
Yeah,
and awakening the mother boxes. That infinitely better. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you pulled me in. I'm ready for 4 hours. But I would say that I could probably like bullshit it a little and say that is what set it off, and that's maybe Steppenwolf was closest to hearing that. If everyone on the planet could hear it, if he was already a discarded employee, you know what I mean? He was already fired by Darkseid at that point. I can't remember where they put him, but that's where was where my mind went.
Well, they like exiled him, but
yeah,
the idea that Snyder said in the interview that you quoted was that he just forgot. Is he just surrounded by a bunch of yes men who don't want to remind him of that thing he did that one time he went to this planet on the other
George
side?
Lucasing.
Yeah, it's like we're just gonna like ixnay on the Earth A. Like we don't want to talk about that today.
Even with the Snyder cut, I think Zack Snyder still needed a little bit of reeling, like on the reins, because think about it. There's like 2 scenes where Steppenwolf talks to Palpatine and and basically says the same thing, where it's like, I've got the location of the mother boxes, or I'm still looking for them, etc. Please don't hate me. I'm simping for Darkseid. That happened twice at some point, and not much changed in between. So it could have stood from being shortened down from 4 hours to a little shorter, maybe 3.5. But in fact, in my mind, I still think even with some of the flaws, it works as a 2-parter. Like, you can cut this movie in half, release the first part 1 year and release the next part the next year, as any studio would do. Because there's definitely a point where Steppenwolf is fought and he gets away clean, and then you're left kind of blue balls because it goes on to part 4 or 3 or something, you know?
Well, there's a lot in there, especially with Steppenwolf not. How many times does he need to fucking give a status update to Darkseid, right? Like we could have cut those in half.
Yeah.
When you said like you could cut the movie in half, like I don't want to become what I hate, but you know there are definitely things you could have condensed in the Snyder cut to cut down on the time if that's what you want to do. But the Justice League is not how you do it. It feels good to see them get their own, to see Snyder like get to say, I'm doing this my way, and get to tell you a story from beginning to end, right? You see how well that works.
I still dislike studios, though, because he only did his vision 99% of the way, with Martian Man Hunter being swapped out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
come on.
Never finished that point, but the reason why is because they've got a John Stewart Lantern film in the works, and they didn't want to compromise that storyline or give way clues on the actor and the theme of it. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the perfect time to introduce that person.
Hell yeah. I think it would have worked way better if with the Green Lantern with John Stewart.
And it's the same IP, man. Who's owning these rights? It's literally the same studio, and you said no because you have this entire slate of films that you want to introduce him on independently.
Yeah, that's another thing. I wish they did that. I really do, because then it would have almost felt like an advertisement for that film.
Yeah,
but like they already have an Aquaman that doesn't fit the tone of this world at all. Like that Aquaman movie is way too campy and bad. I think Wonder Woman actually fits the tone more than of the Snyderverse than anything else.
Really?
Wonder Woman. Yeah, the original one. Think about that. It's got such desaturated lighting except for Wonder Woman's costume.
Yes.
And she's walking through the the trenches, and it's very Zack Snyder. I feel like.
But in terms of the story, the aesthetic was off in Aquaman for sure. Yeah.
There's still some campy stuff. I forgot about the villains who threw smoke bombs and laughed and ran away. But visually, yeah. I totally think I'm afraid, honestly, for the Cyborg. If I don't know if that's in the works, honestly, but I know the Flash movie is, and I'm afraid for that, because I don't think the way Joss Whedon handled the Flash is awful. It's just atrocious. That villain, the Flash in the Joss Whedon cut bothered the hell out of me. So I'm afraid how another director will handle him, especially visually, considering how beautiful the scenes with the Flash are. From his introduction with that his shoes blasting off his feet with the hot dog scene to the end where a spoiler where he's like Flashpoint paradoxing. I literally in my notes wrote they put Flashpoint in this and perfectly. They put it in it perfectly. Yeah, so I'm worried how another director will take it.
I think that Snyder got the benefit of the extended film duration for taking credit for all these beautiful Flash scenes. Okay. That I'm sure Joss wish he could have put into the Justice League. But
hell yeah.
The Flash in the Justice League, the whole I've never really like done battle. I just like push some people and run away, and like having Bruce be like save people, save one at a time, do that, and like trying to coach him into being a superhero. I feel like that worked. In terms of all the characters in the Justice League, I had the least problem. I had a problem with how much was cut from Cyborg. I had a problem with the explainers with Wonder Woman. I had a problem with mean know-it-all Batman. But I didn't really have that much of a problem with the Flash, right? Like maybe you could have told his story a different way, but like you did a good job with Flash. I'm curious who the Flash's villains are gonna be.
Yeah, like who can compete? Like who can make me feel tension from a man who can move past time?
It's got to be Speedforce. They've already alluded to the Speedforce. He did this thing with the CW with that Barry Allen. It has to be the
double down.
Reverse Flash. Something.
I think you're right. But here's what I want them to do, and I know they'll never do it. They should double down. I don't know if this is a comic of this that exists. I'm thinking of it now. Gorilla Grodd should be in the Speedforce. A gorilla with speed altering time. He could kick the shit out of him. He could do it.
Well, the Suicide Squad video game has Captain Boomerang is like a Flash villain, right? And in the video game, he's got super speed, right? He's kind of got like the short bursts speed. Like if you look at the trailer, he's moving around fast like the Flashes, and that kind of makes him sort of a Flash competitor. But in the Suicide Squad, like he's just a bank robber who throws a boomerang. Like they didn't really do anything.
No, God!
He's just an annoying fucking headache of a guy who loves pink unicorns. Like this is
just drunk Jai Courtney. Like
man. So a movie like The Flashes can be the equivalent to Kong and Godzilla, right? You put a bunch of fucking cool graphics in it. Time dilation can explain away plot holes, and just don't irreversibly fuck it up, right? Like don't make anything irreversible.
I think Snyder did a good job of balancing him, like because I forgot until only after I realized I guess he's a little broken, or I thought that like for the Flash, but in this movie it felt like in the Snyder Cut it felt like I cared about his story a little more. And Joss Whedon, when he was like at the prison, he played it more as a joke. You know, he's sharpieing some dude instead of making it like a somber moment where he's focused on his dad. Yeah. I think you're right. It's not a bad approach at all to play it like Batman's mentoring the Flash on his first real mission. But also I like the fact that Barry Allen is smart. He survived on his own. If you can make a suit out of, space metal material, spaceship material, then you can probably figure out what to do on your own in the situation of. I imagine the situation's tense, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like in the Snyder Cut, I like the approach that he's smart, he's capable, he's got some baggage, he's still trying to figure it out, and his powers, he trips a lot, like literally trips a lot, but I'm okay with that.
Barry Allen's a genius level intellect. He's like extremely fucking smart, and I don't know if that's just because like he's got enough time to process everything. He just like moves into the Speedforce and like give it enough time, he can solve any math problem, right? It's like he's extremely smart, and he's completely formidable. When like the whole Doomsday Clock, who the fuck can beat Dr. Manhattan? This is quite literally a god character, right? And they were like, well, Superman going head to head against him can't win. So there was a lot of like maybe the Speedforce, like there's some crazy shit that happens in the Speedforce that not everybody can understand. So when you say he's OP, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Like the Flash is OP, he just doesn't know he's OP. Like he's constantly learning.
He made him pretty accurate then. Also, I liked how they visually told his strength. Like, I didn't pick up on it originally, but remember when they're bringing Superman back to life and like the mother box drops and then it rewinds for a second? I did not pick that up. I was so lost in the visual,
that was in the
like
Snyder
how beautiful that scene. Yeah, that's in the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
I was lost in how beautiful that scene was. I forgot that it was actually like implying, no, he's rewinding time right.
Shit, I totally lost my train of thought around.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's some of your least favorite parts of this of the overall,
of the Snyder Cut?
Of the Snyder Cut, because I enjoyed it and overall, and I think I would watch it again. But what were some of the bigger complaints that really stuck out to you, other than the football scene?
Other than the football scene, I think the Martian Man Hunter, right, bothered me a little bit. Darkseid being mortally injured at the beginning bothered me. The fact that like no one asks anything about lanterns bothers me. The fact that the Atlantean mother box is so poorly guarded bothered me.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit. They were like the janitors on it.
Yeah, like guarding the mother box is kind of like shit detail, right? You're like cleaning bathroom stalls in the Atlantean military. Like, I gotta go sit and watch this fucking box. All right.
It's funny to think though. I didn't even realize that, but it's funny to think now. Like the Atlanteans are like, yeah, we're underwater. No one's coming in. Like, we're fine. To go to the Amazonians and they're like at the ready. There's like they have teams of people around this mother box constantly. Like, it just showed. I like that difference, but I didn't realize how lazy the Atlanteans were.
And then they came out of the water and they didn't bring any Atlantean tech with them, or maybe that came a little bit later. Darkseid killing that one lantern made sense. Again, I think that should have been Steppenwolf. That bothered me. I think the conflict between Batman and Superman wasn't there. They didn't need to be at odds, but I think it needed to be there, especially after the Batman versus Superman. Like,
I only didn't question that part because it seemed like it was his goal. There should have been opposition on Superman's side, other than outside of their initial fight where he was a little like loosey, like brainwashed a little bit. Like, that fight is a little forced in both versions, honestly, because Cyborg is like, I've been in control the whole time, and then immediately like Superman like kind of grimaces at him, and he's like, I can't control myself.
Grid.
Like,
yeah.
Why are you running?
Yeah. So you don't get
forced.
that. Yeah, you don't get. So it's so fucking funny.
It's a great scene nonetheless, but yeah.
You got to explain the lasso, but you don't explain what the fuck's happened. Why isn't he in control of himself? Yeah, that just happened. At that point, you go through Justice League and you pause it and you take a survey in the theater. Does anybody know why that happened? Or who's the culprit or responsible for that? Like, no fucking clue.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, you don't get any of that at all.
And it's funny because considering the length of it too, you should have gotten some of those answers specific. Like, sometimes you
especially if it's going to jeopardize the world.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Like, sometimes you need that clarification. Not always. I do like a aloof implication that it gives you room to think and understand and guess, like, why did it happen this way? Oh my God, that's why. But for sometimes the direct explanation I like. Not always. Like, the only scene that comes to mind is when they explained the background of the mother boxes. Like, they just beat the war and the three societies, humans, Atlanteans, and Amazonians, took them to their own areas and guarded them. And I really liked that part.
One of the key things that I liked is one of the same things that I hated, and it was Snyder taking way too much artistic liberties with the tense, slow moments. Right? You did it well. You're nailing it tastefully in some instances, but like, okay, now it's too fucking much, right? Like, now I'm watching 300, right? Like, all right, I get it with the music and the fucking somber, like, I fucking get it, okay. And that only became tiresome because you'd seen the original. Whereas if this was the first one, and it was released on HBO Max or Netflix in a series, you'd be like, oh, this should get a daytime Emmy. It's so beautifully shot and artistic, taking the time. But like in your movies, you say, okay, well, yeah, I see where you're going.
I totally get that vibe. It feels like Snyder sometimes uses slow-mo perfectly. In the first time in the Joss Whedon cut, I didn't feel tense when the Amazonians were escaping their fortress. But in the Snyder cut, it feels way more tense.
Yeah, and the Snyder cuts, you're clutching your seat.
You feel like the Amazonians' pain as they're trying to fight against this force of nature, it feels like. And even when they're knocking down the pillars, those scenes are extended. Like they're longer, and he gets the full swing with the hammer to destroy those poles. It's so fascinating. I think sometimes him not holding back on a slow-mo shot helps. But then there's other times where they're shooting an arrow to alert Wonder Woman, which I loved how she found out the world was in danger. But they shoot that arrow into that Amazonian like SOS
Athenian
temple.
Yeah, temple.
Yeah. I think that's 12 minutes of them lining up and saying, yes, we should alert someone. and then they fire it and you see the arrow flying. Beautiful, but very long. Too long.
Fair with that. But to Snyder's defense, on the Steppenwolf escape, right? They had that entire building collapse into the ocean after it was secured, right? And then everything fell on top of it. And then him escaping that anyway gives you an idea of the futility of their effort against this demigod. So it's not just have a purpose to it. I don't want to sound like, I walked through,
but it's
I
a
went
movie.
to the suspend belief. And I guess I'll end it on this. Like, I went to the DeYoung today. I was watching this curator give a tour to kids, and one of the things they said, the curator said to the kids, and especially like analyzing this painting, was like, art is art. You can make art any way you want to make art once you start making art, even if it's impossible, even if it doesn't make sense. And I was like, you know what? That's a really great lesson to tell fucking third graders. That's a really awful box office corporate fucking, narrative laying idea. But that's kind of what stuck to me. He's like, you know what? I'm doing this because I want to do it, and this is how I want to tell it. This is going to happen. Ranting. What did you dislike about both of them?
I would say the epilogue didn't do a lot for me. It was like 10 end credit scenes
on both of them
together. Well, here's the thing. I didn't even remember that Dark Deathstroke and Lex Luthor were in the original.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't remember that. I thought that was new again.
You put it in a trauma lockbox. It's like, I don't want to see
Seriously.
this. This is stupid.
I did not care at all. But and the scene with the Joker, I think, was fine.
Okay.
I think Leto pulled it back at his craziness, like compared to Suicide Squad, like how ridiculous he was in that movie versus how crazy and a little off-putting he was in this one. I think he pulled it back. Not my favorite scene, and still not my favorite Joker. I was there for it. I was okay with it. I complained because I've seen Leto in other roles where he's crazy, and it just feels like he's played those roles better. And if he just did the same thing he did for that role in this role, he would be.
You're not going to see Requiem for a Dream Leto as the Joker. I don't think that. What?
We should watch that. We should watch.
Oh,
Actually, another movie
I've watched
saw
it like
12
5 times, man. But
we're doing it again.
There's so much in that Joker scene too, especially if they're going down the Injustice timeline, because the Joker is essentially responsible for killing Lois Lane, right? And he drives he drives Superman crazy because Superman refuses to kill him. Right. And he's like, you've let evil prosper. And this is like, as a result, just because you don't want to make the tough choices. When Slade is saying you really just think it's smart bringing this guy along, you realize Batman's using him as bait because Superman wants to fucking kill the Joker. He like, and it's going to be gory. He's going to make him suffer. So Batman saying like, I intend to honor the promise of killing you slowly means that he doesn't intend to let Superman kill the Joker. What the fuck is going to play out here? You can't exactly run away from Superman. Like, what is about to go down here?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think all of them died immediately after that scene when Superman landed and the Joker and Batman had the conversation. It just feels like it leads to that with how powerful he is. But I like the idea that Superman is more of like the weapon than the mother boxes. You know what I mean? Because like, let's say the universe happens and they get to their end game kind of Infinity War shit, then Darkseid is instead a person who just collected 5 powerful stones. He is a manipulator of a person at his weakest moment in life, and that pushed him to do his bidding and take over the planet he wanted to take over. I think that's cool.
That's not what happens in Injustice.
I thought not in Injustice, but I mean in the Snyder Cut, it feels like the implication is they say Lois Lane dies, and then Darkseid puts his hand on his shoulder. I don't know why he would feel comfort from this monster, but whatever. The point is that Darkseid comforts Superman, and then that's why Superman turns on the planet.
Oh,
that's what I got from that.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Because in the background you see one of Darkseid's original invasion ships, right?
Yeah,
Hovering over the city and like doing like the anti-life sort of shit.
yeah.
So I that makes complete sense. In the Injustice timeline, there isn't like Darkseid isn't even like mentioned. So I think it was one of the nightmares that they had, right? Where Aquaman gets impaled and Wonder Woman is
Yeah.
lying on a bed with the coins to Quran on her eyes because she died.
Oh.
Remember they had flashes of like nightmare
I
endings?
do remember the nightmare sequences, but I don't remember that. Was that a fast glimpse of
Yeah,
that scene?
that was like
Oh
3
damn.
seconds. Yeah, Wonder Woman's
Well,
dead. Aquaman got impaled by his own trident,
I
and
remember they referenced that, but I
Superman
didn't
had
even
his
see it.
hand on the shoulder. Yeah, so I thought
Huh.
it was more of a vision because the end scene with the Snyder Cut seemed a lot like a reality, like an alternate timeline, right? Like the Flash
Okay.
fucked something
Yeah.
up when he went back to talk to Bruce.
Is it the same? Does it look? Let me ask you this also. In that nightmare sequence, does the Flash look the same to you? Does it look like Ezra Miller? Because it doesn't
Yeah,
look like that him to me. I
that's the
cannot tell
that
for
is
some
the
reason.
Ezra Miller outfit. That's the Ezra Miller that came through in that scene in the Batcave where he comes in a flash and he's wearing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And you get the impression that Bruce Wayne told him to go back and talk to Bruce Wayne. And then uh, Ezra, the Flash, still trying to grasp a hold of his power. He goes back in the timeline too far, and he's like, "Oh my!" He's like, "Bruce, Lois Lane is the key. You have to find Lois." And then he like looks at Bruce because Bruce is confused, like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Am I too soon? Ah, fuck, I'm too soon." And he's like, "What do I say? Fear him. You were right about him. You've always been right about him." Yeah. So
Okay.
I have no idea where they're gonna go with this, but
Do you think
Martian
this will
Manhunter
revitalize?
is a pretty good negation against Superman.
I hope they make him OP like that because I did like his design.
I
It's
called him more
alien.
of an
It.
Martian.
I didn't even. Ah, fuck! I didn't even call you out on that.
Martian Manhunter.
I'm more,
Sorry.
damn it! I'm pissed off on both of us. I hope they play him off like that. It seems like Aquaman's pretty strong, like on the same level. Not the same level, but it seems like he's inhumanly godlike strong, and same with Wonder Woman. Cyborg, maybe they didn't really display his strength, just how useful he is in like today's current society. Yeah, and then the Flash is definitely OP. So I'm hoping for Martian Manhunter. I don't think they're gonna do a movie. I haven't heard anything like that, but
No
if
one
they
would
did,
watch that.
that's the shitty part. Like I think they should. He's such a fascinating character. His background into like how he decides to become like go into society, like slink into the society. The background is changed. How he I can't remember the actual name of the human he not loved, but like it was some guy he like worked with and he liked that befriended him. Versions it's different. Like sometimes it's a military guy who he just slipped in the place of, or others it's like this was some person who protected him when he was on Earth and he didn't know where to go, and then he passed and then he took his place just out of respect and he played his role. I think you can do so many interesting things with these characters. That's why I kind of get frustrated sometimes. Like the symbolic stuff is also just as fascinating as the Doomsday fights Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that scene, not in the movie, but you described Batman and the Flash, or sorry, Superman and the Flash playing chess super fast and discussing the nature of guns. Where is that scene? I love that kind of stuff. That really hits a nerve for me.
More of that, less of Shazam, and I don't know how they're gonna bring in. I don't know how they're gonna bring in The Rock as Black Adam,
I just
or
want to see
even if
him
they
as if.
plan to. I don't fucking know, man. But
How well did Shazam even do? Because I would like a sequel. I think that movie was like Sam Raimi campy, like super. It hit a sweet spot for me. You can go too campy with it and be shit, or you can be just the right amount of campy and be like timeless, like Power Rangers or something. Like they're ridiculous, but you remember them to this day.
yeah,
And the first Spider-Man is like a Power Rangers episode, honestly. But I still love it. And so, but with Shazam, that doesn't fit Snyderverse. I'm sorry. What were you about to say? Because
I'm glad we didn't get into movie quotes and Let's Make a Movie because we've just been jumbling along this entire time. I don't know if any of this is useful or if we've agreed or disagreed on anything. We just basically ranted about this thing.
We we talked about scenes we loved and scenes we hated, but you know, editor, just make this a 5-minute video. Edit out the best parts. This will be as long as the movie, as the Snyder Cut.
Oh fuck, it is. If you've listened to us this entire broadcast, you probably could have watched the Justice League. I'm Warren. That's Aaron. I think we're gonna get out of here. Do you agree, Aaron?
The last thing I want us to say is rate the Whedon cut and then rate the Snyder cut. That's all I want on my mind. That's all I got.
Okay, so I didn't really think the Whedon cut was bad, but I just thought the Snyder cut was better. So I'm gonna say Whedon will get an 80. Snyder 3 times more content. Seems almost not fair, but I'm gonna give it an 86 to the Snyder cut.
Oh man, I'm gonna be. I respect that. I like that. I think that makes sense in terms of like superhero movies. I see that.
Whoa, as a standalone movie, right? Going in 6 hours, assuming you know who Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are, I'd say it's entertaining and like good for everyone. But actually 86, 85, 86. I'm gonna stick with my 86. I think it's a good movie.
Okay.
What would you rate it? Both of
with
those.
That, the Whedon cut I thought was just appalling and really like I'm a guy who loves the campy Superman stuff, and Joss Whedon did the terrible version of campy where Superman comes back, he fights Steppenwolf, and he's like, "I'm here to stop you for justice." Yeah. And it's like, why would he say that? Why would he ever say that, especially in this universe, especially with how Snyder built him up? Even in like that's so out of place. So I think there's a drastic difference between the two, and for that, I'm gonna give the Whedon cut. Man, I'm giving it a 55. I think I'm get a hard like an easy. I want to go lower, honestly, but I think
rough,
there's still
man.
some.
Are you serious?
I'm not shitting you. 55 is. I did not enjoy the movie, and there's a lot of moments, especially how you got to be hooked in the first second.
It's a good movie. It's a bad story.
Were you hooked in the first second of that movie though, where Superman? I didn't notice the CGI lip. Honestly, me personally, it's kind of there, but I didn't notice it. But regardless, the opening to that movie is like, what do you want to do, how are you perfect, Superman? And it's just like, huh. And then it just cuts and Batman fights a bug man who explodes and tells him about the mother boxes. His blood tells Batman about the mother boxes. It's such a disjointed intro. I do not accept the rest of the movie after that point.
Well, he compares, so he's seeing patterns of parademon shit all around the world, and like I can sort of, but it's like I
remember that line, but it's too quick. It was too quick for me, that line.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a sentence.
Cap.
55, man. Okay, what about Snyder?
I'm not putting it in a 90 tier. I'll say that. But
that much of a difference? You're gonna like jump like 30 points?
I shit you not. I enjoyed it significantly more. I think it had way more to offer. Wow. Not only visually, but in terms of how it built up each character. And in my mind, I think the Snyder Cut is the best. If they released this was why I wish it was 2 parts, just a year apart. Because if they released that, the Snyderverse would, I would bet the Snyderverse would still be alive today.
It's still alive.
It was way more endearing. It is not. No, the Warner Brothers universe is alive. The Snyderverse is dead. It ended with, in my opinion, it ended with the Justice League.
84.
It ended with Aquaman, if we're gonna be honest. But yeah, I think I would put it at like an 86 because it's not perfect.
So
there's some parts and it could still be shortened, but again, it's way more endearing. I think there's a lot more. In defense
of Joss Whedon, he wasn't brought. At that point he's brought in. You see the direction of the DC universe. They don't make a change like that and expect you to keep it the exact same, right? Like he's like, all right, so I got to do something different. They want something different. He just swung and missed. But the movie isn't bad. Like I hate Ready Player One with a passion, just because of how much it deviates from the book. But even there, I can say like it's not a bad movie. It's entertaining. It's well directed. CGI is okay. It's just not the story that I want told. It doesn't make sense. There's a million holes, but like it's entertaining. I wouldn't put that at 55. I think, man, you got it out for Joss. Do you hate Buffy too?
I love that dude, and I love Buffy. some episodes, but also it reminded me a lot of Justice League War, that little animated movie. Both of them, the Whedon cut and that. I don't think they shine well on the Justice League and who they are at their core, and they're human at their core, and they're struggling with how powerful they are. And I think I got that way more in the Snyder Cut for that drastic jump I gotta keep it.
Fuck, man. In a nutshell, that is our opinion of the Snyder Cut. This has been another episode of Warren and Aaron Movie Talk. We hope that you join us soon. We're going to be doing a watch along of Reefer Madness on the Quest and Chaos channel with a special guest to help culture the place up a little bit. So look forward to that. Happy 420.
You've definitely seen the Reefer Madness at this point by the time this will be released, this episode.
Yeah, actually it's June now, probably, right? With the way that we get things done here. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. Peace.